Evening, cheeseheads. Welcome to a Monday night edition of the Cheese Room. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me for a short time tonight as your host. Craig can't be here. He went out and got smashed on Saturday night. Got in Sunday morning, and I think he's in trouble with his missus, and he's extremely tired. So, unfortunately, I'll be leading proceedings tonight, and you won't have the velvet tones of Craig. So, first, top right-hand corner. First panel member tonight, DaveO from Australia. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. How are you? Must have been a busy day, Morris, dancing around the maypole with you and the family and Rosie.
Absolutely. I'm tired. My legs are killing me. That it, is it, Dave?
Yeah, that's all I want to say.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Right then. And also a late addition, James. James, how are you? How's your May Day been? I bet you haven't been Morris dancing, have you?
No, not quite. It's been all right. I was out until about 9 a.m. last night. So, but unlike Craig, I can hack the night out. So I feel good going out again tonight. So
just double your age, mate.
So he should have more wisdom on how to combat the ill effects, shouldn't he?
Yeah, not stay out as late. And then
I thought you'd be joining in the May Day rebellion riots, James, as a student, surely.
No. I don't need to. I don't need to give MI6 more information to disappear me.
Oh dear. Okay. Right, let's get away from this conspiracy nonsense. Bottom corner, Becky. You had to go through it at the ground yesterday. You've already done one show tonight now, and now you've got to relive it all again. So, big up to you, Becky. But how are you?
Yeah, I said that on Holly's show earlier that I couldn't speak for about half an hour yesterday. I just couldn't put into words what I'd actually witnessed. And then as days go on, you wake up and then you kind of, it's cathartic, isn't it, talking about it? But yeah, I'm all right. I watched the first half of the Leicester game as well. I've just put on Twitter that Maddison's in my fantasy team. And then Jack shouted through, he's just missed the penalty. Yeah, great. Thanks for that.
Has he missed the penalty?
Yeah.
Madison.
He assisted the first goal and then he's just missed the penalty. Yeah.
You lose points for that.
Right up our street, Madison. Right up Spurs Street. So thanks, guys, for coming on. There's a few, you might have been lost for words, Beck, but there was a lot of words I used yesterday that I'm not going to use on this show. So, guys, let's get into it. Start where we always do. Start in 11. DaveO, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, I don't know what's going on here.
You're right.
You're covering Becky. It's not Becky in goal. It was Fraser Forster.
Becky was in goal. So because she's been to so many away matches, she gets a complimentary appearance in the first team, and that's what she did on the weekend.
Welcome. She's not a mascot. She gets a place on the team. Yeah,
that's right. So I watched it blind 5 a.m. Monday morning. Not obviously blind, not knowing the score. So I just literally moved it on start straight away. I didn't realise Ben Davies was playing for 10 minutes. I thought still it was long lace. I need some new glasses. In terms of the lineup, I'm pleased that Davies come back. I think initially I thought to myself, but if Davies is fit, I'd have played Longley and Davies as a left wing back and have Perisic on the bench. And I know we've only got now. I thought Perisic had one of his best games in the Spurs shirt. Actually, I thought it was excellent. And the other one is Kulusevski. He brought Kulusevski back. Okay, I know Richie scored a super sub at the end, but I wouldn't necessarily start Kulusevski. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, we can get into that. Becky, when you saw that starting 11, any surprises for you? Anything you would have liked to have seen different, or were you just like, yeah, that's what I thought?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I think seeing Davies come on against United meant I had thought he would play. Same thing. I thought there may be some sort of change in the wing backs, but the same thing. I thought Richarlison kind of deserves a start, really, particularly being ex-Everton and playing against Liverpool. But other than that, it is what it's expected. We want Sarr to play, don't we? But he doesn't, and Danjuma never. I think John tweeted the other day that he must be really shocking in training because he doesn't get started and he's not coming on for hardly any time at all now.
Nah. James, lastly, what do you think that's? I mean, we can't really expand on it a lot. James, tell us what you think, but obviously it's pretty much the same starting 11 every week, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, same 11 every week. I thought, Kulu against United had a okay cameo, so I'm not entirely surprised he started. Thought maybe Richie might get something, but I wasn't expecting it. I thought if Davies was fit, he would start, so that wasn't a surprise to me either. Nothing particularly surprising there. All in all, mostly what I expected.
No, pretty much as standard as it is, isn't it? And then I put in the WhatsApp group, first goal bingo. So jokingly, I can't even be bothered to go in and look. I think I put some at like 8 or 9 minutes. Caller put 4, I think, and I was like taking the mick. But it was only a bit of banter. But DaveO, true to form, crowd are banging out "You'll Never Walk Alone," giving it large. Liverpool, as they always do at Anfield, start off on the front foot, and Spurs are 1-0 down very early on. Trent Alexander-Arnold given the freedom of Anfield to do what he does best and put a cross in. Back post, Curtis Jones taps it in. What are your thoughts on that at that point, mate?
Well, first of all, the co-commentator was the very independent ex-Liverpool left-back Jim Beglin, commenting on Liverpool versus Tottenham, was the first thing I noted. And then, of course, Romero and Porro just had an absolute shocker on that. You can argue, well, Porro should have picked him up, but between the two of them, to leave Jones free like that was an absolute shocker. And, we've said this on repeat for God knows how many weeks or months now. But, we haven't won away in the league, I don't think. Fulham away, I think.
Yeah. It's got to be.
Which is January, which is we're almost in Pochettino territory on that one. And, go out to a place like that, hold the ball, soak up the pressure, soak up the game, take the ball away into our danger areas, and off we go. But we just don't do it.
No, mate. I mean, Becky, you're in the ground at that point. I'll come to you on this because you're sat in the ground. Obviously, you've heard the old noise from the Liverpool crowd. Can you, as soon as that game started, we were under pressure, weren't we? Were you fearing the worst when that goal goes in? Or do you think, no, it's early doors, they've got one, we'll sort of hold on here?
No. Everybody sort of thought this is going to be Newcastle over again, or a speeded up United. It's just almost embarrassing. It's funny because I said this on Holly's show, because there's no replays or anything in Anfield. There's not even a big screen. We're just relying on remembering what we saw, and it was quite quick. But yeah, watching it back today, seeing Porro kind of go to Romero and then leaving him by himself, and they're just walking through us. And it was like last Sunday when it just felt like it was going to be how many. For all of Conte's faults, and I'm certainly not his biggest fan, at least we would be able to kind of soak up pressure for a few minutes in games when he was here. Now it's like, they come at us and we're like rabbit in headlights, just don't really know what to do, not really learning anything from game to game.
They've not learned anything for a long time, have they, Bet? I mean, like you said, that he was free as a bird on that back post. Nobody's picking him up. Obviously, you've got Romero and Porro, but there's bodies all over the pitch around that. No, he made the move to go towards Curtis Jones once the ball had gone there and gone in. I can't imagine anybody else shouting that there's a man behind you. It's just like kiddies stuff, isn't it? Like you must. I can imagine, because that was right in front of you, wasn't it? That goal. So you're just watching it, and you can see what's happening. Yet nobody else.
And Porro ends up sitting on the floor, doesn't he? And
yeah.
Foster's not even touched it, and he's picking the ball out the back of the net.
No, exactly. Look, James, Porro, not a great defender, mate. We know that. Like, I've made mitigation for him before, saying, when he was at Sporting Lisbon, he played in a possession-based team, probably not used to defending as much as he defends for us. Different type of tactics where he's got bodies, like more bodies in the middle of the pitch or whatever. But you've still got to be a bit more switched on than that, haven't you, James?
Well, yeah, it's schoolboy stuff, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
It's the kind of stuff that, if you make those errors in, I played youth football for 9 years. You make those errors at under 13s, under 14s, you're going to get shouted at. Or at least told off for it, aren't you?
No Tottenham players get shouted at, mate.
Nah, by our chain smoking manager we had, top guy. But no, it's just appalling defending for all 3 goals. Honestly, I don't really know what really more I can add that others won't, because that's all there is to say, isn't it?
That's how it feels, isn't it, James? You know what I mean? When we discuss these goals the past few weeks, you're just literally going over old ground about it. And Dave, you think to yourself, right, we've gone 1-0 down at Anfield. They're going to be right on us now. You sort of know that second goal's coming. And then obviously runners off the ball. Our runners extremely slow to react. We're very reactive, not proactive. Got was it Gakpo gets beyond Dyer extremely easy because Dyer's gone walkabout for some reason. Crosses it in, and I think Diaz gets there just before Romero. Did he get that? Was it Romero who got there before? I mean, it was a good finish, to be fair. It was a good finish, and the ball was put in the right area. But then you're just like, here we go again.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that and you look at Dyer's positioning and you look at Romero's positioning and body shape and all the rest of it. Again, appalling. Look, I think Christian Romero's had a poor season. And I think that he is getting a bit of a free pass from sections of our fan base because he's the best player out of the 6. Of 6 centre backs that we have on the books, which is, it's a bit like saying Howard's the best one out of Take That. A bit of a 90s reference for you. So, I mean, at the end of the day, right, he's, to my mind, pre-World Cup, he was playing with the fact that he has a World Cup and a very good chance of winning it because of this is Messi's last hurrah. And his social media director should have been sacked after he tweeted his training a day after our last game against Leeds. And then since he's come back, he's played in a way, with this kind of reckless abandon, which sometimes suggests I think he just doesn't actually care and he's had enough. And as I said, he's been given a free pass. It's a bit like we've kind of got this victimhood mentality with him that we're so grateful he's with us because he's the best one out of 6. I haven't seen him play a run of 10 games consistently well, and there's 10 games with no suspension, and I include no injuries or anything like that. I'd like to see that. I agree with you that I think he's a good player compared to the others, but the reality of the situation is that he needs to get a run of 10 decent games in, and he hasn't.
Yeah. I mean, we can come back onto Romero when we talk about the third goal, can't we? Because it's a penalty. But Becky, second goal goes in. I bet you've literally just taken your head out your hands, got yourself back ready to watch the game, and then no sooner do you do that, number 2 goes in.
The proudest part of the first half for me is that I took sunglasses.
Yeah.
So I carried on my head from 12 o'clock like a right Wally, going, I'll need these sunglasses, even though I was absolutely lashing it down when I got into Liverpool about 12 o'clock. Like, I'll need these sunglasses. So I got there, stood in the Anfield Road, and sun comes out. I'm like, yes, I'm wearing my sunglasses. So yeah, I was just sort of just kind of in the moment of this is where I am. I'm standing here. They've stopped singing now because they've done their Never Walk Alone. They've scored and they've just gone to silence. And then, I'm like, what the hell is Gakpo doing over there? And why is Dyer not stopped the cross? And all of a sudden Salah scored. Of course he has. No, not Salah. Wasn't Salah, was it? Salah was
Diaz.
But whoever it was. That's right. Yeah, the guy you hadn't been playing and had just come back. It was his first
just
start,
come back
wasn't it?
first game.
So we were all like, oh, here we go again. It was that phrase. It was like, this is going to be like last week. How many is it going to be?
Yeah.
And that's when it didn't go toxic. It didn't go toxic in the crowd, but we then started sort of few leave you out chance, but then we started singing kind of banter in the Liverpool fans, really, it's 2-0, how bad can you be, and that sort of stuff, because we just tried to make light of it.
Well, it's like they say, Beck, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, won't you, with some of that defending. James, like, it just went to pot, didn't it? Like, they're just Liverpool, they go 2 up, they're all over us. We can't defend from the front. Midfield are getting outran. The defence are just literally all over the place. Kicking, and that second goal was just easy, wasn't it? Like you said, I know it sounds silly to say the same thing again, but it's just more schoolboy defending, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just far too easy for Liverpool. I mean, it's just I was watching the game on my phone because it was my granddad's 70th. Well, it's his 70th in like 3 weeks, but it's the weekend we agreed to meet up or whatever. It's just far too easy for him to get behind and for Diaz to score. I'm just looking at it in disbelief again because I thought surely what happened at Newcastle can't happen again, and I'm just like, do I really have to watch this? Why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah, we're all in that boat, buddy.
It's just far too easy. The front line aren't actively pressing Liverpool at all. The midfield are overrun because there's 2 of them who are trying to occupy the same spaces against Liverpool's 3. Our wing backs are, pulled back by Liverpool's fullbacks pressing up high, and our wing backs can't defend either. So they're basically getting one-on-ones with their front line and our back 3, and we all know that our back 3 is playing shockingly this season. And then their wing backs have loads of space to attack into. It's just, even on the errors were all individual, I think, but also to some capacity or another, it was a systemic issue in the way we were set up and how we were playing. Yeah, Kerry's right. It was just comical defending.
We defend poorly as a team, don't we? But but on top of that, we also make individual errors. So, even if there's a poor bit of defending, like Diaz gets ran past, the cross comes in and the other defender is nowhere near it. He's not even going, I need to get there because someone else is messed up. But like Dave, we'll come on to the 3rd goal and we'll talk about that first 15 minutes as a whole lot. Obviously, rash tackle by Romero on the edge of the area. So another rash decision by Romero because Diaz pushed out again, been caught out again for the first time. And it's like penalty, Salah, 3-0. But it's like these, if you want to be seen as a top team, we can't have these periods. How can these periods at the start of a game keep happening? Why is this happening? Why are we not going onto a football pitch? Why are we not going onto a football pitch mentally prepared, physically prepared, and ready for that challenge? What is going on? I agree with Becky. I'll come to that. But is it just the whole leadership of the group, including the coaches? Because, there is no way that Mason's not said to them after the last 2 games, I'm positive, no way. Let's go. Just don't concede early. Let's keep it tight. 3-0 down. Because, after he was fuming, but it just can't keep happening, can it? It's ridiculous that it keeps happening.
Look, I know we're going to keep this about an hour or so I'm going to keep it short. Look, I think it's the culture from top to bottom of the club. Culture from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
And, you've got these players who I think they're on to the 5th or 6th person in charge of that team since 2019, something like that. Or the one who we're going to appoint is going to be number 6. And for quite a big chunk of those players who've been there a long time, they just think that it's, a quick word to the ownership towards the end of a coach's reign. We always get the same stories. Training's too hard. The training's not too hard. Ketchup's in the canteen. Ketchup's not in the canteen. It's the whole thing. So from a leadership point of view, we need a proper, not very nice person to be running that team, either in defence or in midfield, who can put some medals on the table and show everyone what's it about. I quite like Perisic's attitude. I don't think he folds, to be honest. I think, as I said, I thought he had a good game. Perisic, his form's dipped in and out, but you can't say one thing. You can't say about him. He's never hidden when he's he's not been in great form. He's never hidden.
No, I don't think that's his style, Dave. I just think he's a 34-year-old man playing like a 34-year-old man.
Yeah,
he's not a very good
weirdly,
defender.
He's more vocal when he's on the side of the pitch than he is when he's on the pitch. When you watch him on the pitch, he rows with Højbjerg and Diaz and waves his arm about a bit and does a bit of pointing. But on Thursday, when Son went over to Mason, Perisic was standing next to him. Interestingly, I think yesterday I said to Kaz next to me, he celebrates, I think, for the 2nd goal, and someone gives him a bib because he's still wearing his T-shirt, his kit, and someone tells him to wear a bib. So he's actually kind of more motivational when he's not actually playing.
Well, you need that. You need that back. But obviously, you came in there with leadership. Now, so where do we get this leadership from? Is it somebody we've got to bring in? Because obviously Kane's seen as the leader at the moment. Like for me, we talk about Romero, and I think Romero is the best defender we've got, and I think he's a good player. But I think he needs some serious coaching. And for me, he's got somebody with him. And I look the way I see the club look at Eric Dyer is that he's a big voice, he's a big personality. Now, there is no way he is getting hold of Romero. Players like Dyer, if they're seen as leaders, should be getting hold of Romero and calming him down, talking him through games, helping him through these periods. But I mean, Dyer's is culpable from, if not more so than others. So, like the leadership thing for you, Beck, where's that going to come from? Is that coming from within? Where is it?
We talked about it last week, didn't we? About who the committee was. The so-called committee was Lloris, Dyer, and Højbjerg, and Kane. Lloris is. We said this last week. He's a very quiet goalkeeper. Forster is louder, has much more of a presence, much calmer at the back. It's annoying that we were 3-0 down before he barely had to kick the ball. His kicking out was much better yesterday. They play it back to him quite nicely. I like there was one where it came across, and I remember sort of catching it out of the air. And Højbjerg's being very inconsistent. He's arguably someone that people say, oh, you can see him as a future captain, and he should be a leader. Dyer spends a lot of time talking to the refs. If there's an incident, obviously with the skip incident and the one with the penalty, he goes over and has a chat, but he doesn't really do that with the team.
No.
John's put in the chat that Mason and Kane did talk while Salah was getting ready to take the penalty about the hands over their mouth, and they're obviously deciding what things to change up, whether he scored it or not. I said earlier on Holly's show that we'll come to it in chronological order, but at the end with Moura, Kane was consoling Moura. Kane's the one who's come out and done the interviews. Lloris has does interviews quite sporadically, and the last few have been a bit inconsistent in terms of what he sort of said. Usually I think most people, with whatever Kane says, most people agree with him when he speaks in interviews. He's pretty honest. He doesn't come out and give off this kind of impression of it being a different game, does he? So it's tricky because arguably two players that have really gone backwards this year, Lloris, if you include that's 3, are part of this committee thing. So the leader side of it is quite inconsistent. Romero doesn't speak English as well, and
still.
Yeah,
I don't think
not enough. I don't think. Not enough.
But that is what's going on there?
Is that the aeroplane yesterday for Anfield? Their owners out for aeroplane.
That
they just circled around here.
That leadership does need to come from somewhere. Højbjerg's form, I thought he was good in the second half yesterday, but his form has been terrible. But I think he makes people accountable. That's what I don't think we've got enough accountability in that team, and people who make others accountable. But yesterday, after the game, I felt Kane looked annoyed, and he didn't blame anyone. But I've got a feeling that he's he's bemoaning how bad the defending and stuff is. I just got a feeling yesterday that he was like, it's not good enough from other parts of the team. And
which is ironic because Dyer is one of his best mates, and I texted Joe this, and I was like, where does it stand with him?
Yeah. Well, I think it comes to a point, if they're your mates, though, that even more sometimes you're annoyed with them when you play football with people like that at a pretty high level. You've got the top teams. When I've heard stuff about Man United under Ferguson with players like Keane and Schmeichel and Van Nistelrooy, they weren't all best buddies, but they called each other up and they had respect for each other, but they call each other out on stuff. And I don't think there's enough of that going on at Spurs, but I've got a feeling that Kane's this time taking the captaincy, he does seem he's got a little bit more steel to him. But James, like obviously the penalty, they got the foul, the penalty went in. We've moved on to the leadership thing here.
Yeah,
I think the culture's a big thing. It's hard to put the chairman in that culture from top to bottom. That's slightly different. Obviously, there's issues that come from top to bottom. But the culture thing is around the playing staff. And there's far too many people who are far too comfortable. As I've said before, Lloris came back fit, straight in the team. Dyer always seems to play. No matter how shocking he is, no matter how many bad decisions or sluggish he is, he gets to play. Højbjerg plays every single game. And even his form's dropped, but there's no let-up. They won't bring Sarr in for him or anything. It's just, obviously, Kane that I always say is the anomaly. Son even is playing better now, but when his form was horrendous, is it the culture, James?
I think it's got to come down to a combination of culture and a feeling that there aren't other options that are as good as the players who aren't in form, right? So even if, Diaz not playing well, as a manager, maybe you look at the bench and then, as Conte said last season, I used to turn around to my bench, look at it, and then turn back to the pitch. In other words, well, no one is any good, so I've got to stick with these lot, even if they're playing badly. The culture of the club is definitely an issue. I think I said in a previous episode that is there a bad smell in the kitchen or something, because it seems to permeate the entire football club for some reason. And that's very much what it does feel like. You look at that players committee. Ooh, a players committee. Two of those guys.
That's just senior pros, mate. That's a posh word for senior pros, mate.
Well, two of them shouldn't be here next season, and one of them has been overplayed and done fairly mediocre, and one is the best striker in the world. There's a huge culture issue. You've got guys like Romero who are very fighty, because South American. But you have no one who is level-headed leadership, for lack of a better word, which you'd hope would come from an experienced manager. But we've had experienced managers. We've had, the passive aggressiveness of Jose. We've had Conte's bipolar outbursts. At some point, surely someone has to come along and say, well, yes, the manager does need to be that vocal point of leadership, but the players need to take responsibility amongst themselves. And the current crop of players we have, a lot of them aren't doing it. So ultimately, a lot of responsibility does rest on them, and their mentality is a weak mentality.
Well, I think as well, it's these patches of form have happened far too regularly to some of them, and it's the norm. And that we just deal with it the same way. I think you need I think it's just time. We need to move a few on. And some of it might be painful, but at some point we're going to have to do that. Even a couple of them need to be moved on. New players need to be brought in. New coach, new philosophy, new mentality, all of that. But I don't know how quick we can do it. But because it's not going to be a long show tonight, let's move on to some. Let's try and get on to the better stuff. So for 25, 30 minutes, it's like, Alamo. Dave, then we stop. What do you think happened? Liverpool stopped playing, or we just got really good, or that's somewhere in the middle?
I think Liverpool stopped playing because they thought, well, we'll do another Newcastle. We'll just pick him off when we want to. And then I think we realised that actually they've got us just as crap as defence as we have. And then once they've made that realisation, we started. I mean, I think Kane had a bit of a chance before we scored the first one, and we had opportunities. I know that Son hit the post 2 or 3 times. I can't remember when the first one he did that, but we started realising that we could actually play, and they're not that good, and that led to the first goal. Which was a lovely through ball by Skip. And what was amusing, that old Flappy Hands was getting flappy and angry about the ball not being given to him, and Skip pinged it forward. Perisic, beautiful cross, and Kane put it away. And it was, as Danny Kelly said on TalkSport last night, it was a lot more difficult chance than you realise. But as it turns out, the good news for Becky, that was the only 1 goal. Oh, no, hang on. That was, 2 goals out of the 7 at the other end. The rest of them were at her end. But 1-0, 3-1, we're back in it a little bit.
And the thing that was really I'm like you, I watched it back today, seeing that clip where Son gets it, doesn't he, from Højbjerg, and Højbjerg's asking for it back, and he gives it to Skip, and then Skip plays a lovely through ball to Perisic. And I noticed, I think at half time, John tweeted very quickly to say, we were lucky because Van Dijk fell over. But it was a nice passage of play, and I completely agree with Liverpool stopping. They were walking it around, and I think that's when we decided that we were going to sing and we were going to have more positivity and have a bit of a laugh with it, and we were taking the mick out of the fact that they weren't singing and they were completely silent. Someone put in a chat about how they literally do "You Never Walk Alone." They didn't do "You Never Walk Alone" at the end because obviously Richarlison equalised, but there was nothing in between. There's no sound, there's no singing at all. But I said on Holly's show, it's weird. The atmosphere is really, really quiet. And then I watched it back today, and it seemed louder on TV than it does when you're really there. So whether there's some effects microphones like near the dugout that make it sound louder on TV, because I'm there going, that's not as loud as it sounds when you're there. That's really weird. And I've never noticed that at any of the away games I've been to, like Old Trafford and things.
They whack
it's
it
very
up
odd.
when they start singing You'll Never Walk Alone.
Really odd.
When that happens, they turn everything down and turn the mics up by that up.
But even like during the play, you're like, it definitely seemed louder than it was. And I was like, I was there. It's really not. It's really quiet. And there were a lot of half scarves yesterday, even like in the train station.
No,
even
really?
Even before the game, even before, like you see a few being bought at the ground and stuff. This was in the station. It was, anyway.
And the traffic after the game going back down south to, the southern counties with all those Liverpool fans heading back to Surrey must have been a shocker.
God, I fucking hate them. So, James,
but linking what to Dave said, though, there were chances before. There was a chance where Alisson saved it with his feet, and even Martin Tyler in commentary was like, "Oh, Son's going to score here," and then he didn't. And then the play out from that went to Perisic, and then they scored immediately afterwards. So there was a bit of momentum building. And I said in Holly's show, scoring before half time made a massive difference. In the same way that Rashford scoring on Thursday to United should have meant they should have gone and kicked on. Yeah, scoring just before half time did give us a little bit of hope. Yeah.
So James, obviously, like Becky said, we built some momentum. Finally got the goal because you're worried we're missing chance. It's not going to happen. Then the Kulusevski chance, Beck, was after the goal, wasn't it?
Kane. Yeah.
Like I said, I don't write down how the game goes. Even I didn't realise I'd be hosting tonight. But yeah, so James, got a bit of momentum. Go into half-time 3-1 down, and you're thinking, not as bad as we thought. They're struggling at the back. So when we go in at half-time 3-1 down, what are you thinking? You thinking we're going to get picked off, or you thinking we can get back in this?
To be honest, I'm kind of thinking, right, we got one back. They're not looking brilliant. And I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, we come out in the second half going for it, all guns firing. And maybe then we get something. I mean, I did have to remind people that my prediction was 3-2. And I said it'd be a high-scoring game, which I was right about. Well, I said it'd also be a high-scoring game. So, closer than anyone else here. I think.
I said 4-0. So I got the 4 right.
We always score. No, we'd never nil. We'd always score. I always knew we would score.
We're always going to concede and we're always going to score.
I said on Patreon we'd lose 7-0.
No.
Well, if you add up the two numbers, then you do get 7.
I was right, wasn't I?
In a manner of speaking. Anyway, I don't know. I was being optimistic that we could maybe come out in the second half and push, because I thought if we get a second goal, even if it's from something ridiculous like Alisson miscontrols a back pass from Van Dijk and it rolls in, then as soon as we get that, we're going to pounce on them. And we were a bit slow when we came out in the second half. I thought it wasn't until we changed formation that I thought the game really, we looked like we could win. Well, not necessarily win, but get a result out of the game. I think that was the turning point for me.
Okay. So, Dave, we come back out second half. Son had that effort that hit the post, didn't he?
He did.
So you're thinking it's not Sonny's day, because I think a couple of times before that he got sort of caught on the ball, and you're like, it's just things ain't happening for him. He's had those chances in the first half and he's hit the post. And then we obviously, like James said, we changed tactics. I actually thought, and I think Caller put it in the group as well, it took us a little bit of time we did improve when we clicked, but the first sort of like 5-10 minutes where we changed formation, it sort of went a bit flat, didn't it? As if we decided to kill the game ourselves and keep it at 3-1 until Sonny's goal. Agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was a lovely through ball from Romero. I think that probably the best thing he did all afternoon. And
he was good. He was good second half, mate.
And your mate, and to be fair, your mate Fluffy Hands had a good second half as well.
Good
I
lad.
thought he had a good second half. And then Sonny did, a very confident finish. And there's been some people on the cheese room who said that we should think about selling him in the summer, and maybe he's past his peak and that kind of thing. I don't know who that.
One of those live in Australia. Do they live in Australia?
Yeah.
That person, do they?
Yeah, someone's put a little fishing rod out to you on Twitter, Becky, that you haven't responded to.
Someone beat you to it though, saying they were going to Leicester though, not Newcastle. So when you tweeted that, someone's already put he's going to Leicester instead.
I must try harder. So yeah, it was a great finish. So what's his goal tally now under Stellini/Mason?
He's had
Becky knows he's got 10.
3 goals in 4 games, but he's got 10, and he's had 10 for the 7th consecutive season. Only 11 players have done that.
So there we go. So he's got 3 goals in the last 4 games since he's been freed from the tyranny of Antonio Conte. And yeah. I do believe that Perisic has done a couple of assists for him as well, which somebody said, "Oh, it's only a 5-yard pass," and I don't know who that was. And but yeah, great finish. But look, he took the chance confidently and he pulled it away, which we haven't seen. He snatched at chances and things like that. So delighted that he scored. Can we read anything into Sonny running over to Mason each time he's scored? It seems almost like he's been released. Yes, as I said, he's been freed from the tyranny of Conte. And hopefully, Kerry, with Adama Traore joining us in the summer, he can link up with him nicely.
Stop it, Dave.
The thing that got me today is that Perisic has had 12 assists this season, which apparently is more than Maddison. It may not be now because Maddison's assisted tonight. And it was Eriksen and Eriksen's been injured, but the list of players that had got less than 12 assists, I was like, fair dues. There has been 12 assists. It's just like I think we alluded to in the Bournemouth game, the amount of crosses that went out or didn't make the first man. And, Perisic was there to help Sonny. The thing about yesterday's goal is that flick through from Romero. Sonny was so much freer yesterday because he was playing facing goal. He didn't have his back to goal. He was playing the high line off the shoulder, and he was doing that on Thursday night as well. And that's how Sonny is supposed to play. He said in that interview, didn't he, after the Brighton game, I think it was, about how he didn't want to play with his back to goal and he didn't want to play in that kind of position. And Mason is obviously letting him do that. The thing about the one that hit
goal, can he, Beck?
No. And the thing about that, the one that hit the post just before he did score, the way it was curling, I was convinced it was just going to go in the bottom corner because the trajectory of the ball. Romero's wasn't. Romero's was like a toe poke flick thing. But Sonny's really looked like it was going to go in. But yeah, it was a great finish, and he's not doing the celebration. He's running back, and we're kicking on.
The one there at the post, Beck, was classic Son, wasn't it? That was, if that had gone in, that would have been classic Son.
Yes.
But James, so Becky's obviously chuffed to bits on his bagged shooting towards her with 3-2.
We haven't finished yet. He hasn't finished contributing yet.
No, he hasn't. And but then I think we get the Jota on skip tackle.
Yeah.
So, we, like I said, we haven't got ages and ages tonight, but we'll bring it up. So he's just grazed his head with his foot there. So let's get straight to it. Red or no red for you?
Red.
Yeah, good lad. How's he not? How's he not? How are they not? With everything that's involved in football now, how has that been allowed to stand? He gets away with it.
2 points. Firstly, sticking your leg up that high to try and kick the ball, I was told off for when I was about 12 playing football. I was told to not do that because it's dangerous.
Okay. Is that by the same chain smoking coach that you had?
Yeah. He used to shout that at us. Don't do that, lads. Because you either hurt someone or someone's going to hurt your leg. You go for the header. Anyway, he's,
Was it Les Dawson managed you?
He's you never know. He's lucky in a way that he hasn't, and Skip's lucky that serious damage hasn't been done there. Because that kind of challenge, regardless of intent is irrelevant in this kind of challenge.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely
dangerous, incredibly dangerous. It's not exactly what this, but it's a head injury that ended Ryan Mason's playing career. That kind of thing can cause severe head trauma, and
well, it did.
It's horrifically dangerous. Yeah, for Mason, I mean on Skip, but it can be lethal. And the fact that football hasn't, in this instance, taken a much tougher stance on it is appalling.
Did it go to VAR?
I think it did. It was hard to judge. Do you know what I mean? Drawing the game back. I don't. Obviously, you said they haven't got big screens there, but I'm watching it.
No.
And you're caught up in the moment. I'm not sure it did. I mean, you know, I'm at home talking with my lad, and I'm sort of like, "That's the red, surely." And you're not listening to the comments, so I can't remember if they said it went to VAR or not.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody in the comments would have watched that ref they have on Sky Sports who gives his opinions on a Monday
because I
morning
said
or
on
whatever.
Holly's show, both Jota and Skip are quite short players, aren't they? So this idea that they're supposedly saying that Skip put his head into his foot is that he's bent down. He's quite short anyway. So sometimes that does happen, doesn't it? When you've got someone who's taller and someone who's shorter, their feet and their head are in different proportions. But both Jota and Skip are both quite short. We didn't have any idea in the ground what had really happened because the position of where it is was kind of Jota had his back to us, so we didn't really see it. The first thing we saw is when they're all kind of huddled around him. And then, you know, we said afterwards, why didn't they just let him go and look at the monitor? You know, because surely that's the sort of thing that when you see it slowed down and freeze framed, it looks absolutely horrendous. It's bad enough anyway. But if he'd gone to the monitor, and I haven't heard anybody say it's not a red card either. So that's the thing for me, is that there's usually somebody that sort of says, oh, it's 50-50, but nobody seems to think it should have been just a yellow card, just because how dangerous it was.
I mean, Dave, I won't talk too much about it, but even it's a red card, or there's blood. He's drew blood. You know, you're looking at that picture, slow-mo or not, however they try to sort of like say, oh, yeah, it's worse when you look at it in slow motion. Red all day long, isn't it, Dave? All day long.
No, it's not a red. 2 words. First word is and the second word is Anfield. So I grew up in a time where, you know, if you'd have been shot, stabbed, strangled in a penalty box in front of the cop, you wouldn't get the decision. You never do. Surprisingly, Jim Beglin on the co-commentary didn't really talk about it that much at all. I don't know. I looked like the Sky panel looked quite mixed. That you had Redknapp, Keane, Souness.
They all said red.
They all said red. They all said red.
And they are biased.
They are biased. They hate Tottenham. So it was a red. He should have gone off. But the good news is, from a fantasy league point of view, Jota's in my team. Sorry about that.
I mean, yeah, I heard this on somewhere else last night. That is a red. He should have gone. Yeah. But
doesn't it show how unlucky they are, though, the fact that it's him that ends up going and scoring? It's just not fair. That's where we don't get any luck. I said yesterday, you know, the moment teams seem to have a chance and they score it. And why? Just the sod's law, isn't it, that he's the person who ends up going and scoring?
I'm probably going to talk more about this on Wednesday because we'll have more time. It's a definite red. It's a horrendous tackle. It's a horrendous decision by the referee. He should have gone, and then he scores at the end. But ultimately, do not go 3-0 down after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever. That's the biggest thing. But I'll probably have more time to talk about that on Wednesday. But yeah, it is horrendous, Beck. And you just, once he scores, you know he shouldn't be on there. But there's bigger things. But it is disgusting. It's just terrible officiating. And you know, like, obviously it doesn't change that. But Brighton against us, it's just absolutely woeful, isn't it? But Becky, Skip goes off. Richarlison's waiting to come on, and obviously that is a substitution that works in our favour. Like you said, you'd have liked to have seen him come on, and obviously he was chasing down everything when he come on. It probably him coming on at that time sort of boosted us a little bit. He
stood waiting to come on longer than he played. He was standing there for ages, and then when Skip goes off, he comes on. He gets instantly booed because he's obviously ex-Everton. And then there was that chance, wasn't there, where Kanate kind of pulled him down. And I turned to Kaz straight away and said, if that's anybody else, if that's anybody else, it's a penalty. But because it's Richarlison and the way he flings his arms around, they're probably saying it was too theatrical. My Dave at home, he said he did think that would be given as a penalty. And
But
was
interestingly
a penalty.
tonight,
Beck, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
It's a bit
Yeah,
different with
but
it.
I wasn't surprised though. Like you just said, we are at Anfield and we're the away team, so I wasn't surprised it wasn't given. But tonight,
No.
Calvert-Lewin's had exactly the same one today, and that was given as a penalty.
VAR's meant to take away this thing like, so, oh, it's Richarlison. He throws himself theatrically. Let's have a look at it. Oh, yeah, it's a penalty, right?
Yeah.
That's meant to take all that out of it. And like I said, there's probably another discussion for another day. But if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. And he'd got a yellow card for it, probably. So he'd have been off because he was on a yellow already. But he was fired up, Beck, wasn't he? And he come on and we were all saying, is this bloke going to score this season? And it's sort of like written in the stars. He comes on, closes his eyes, the ball hits him on the head and goes in the back of the net.
Well, it kind of
Crowd-
brushes his face. It brushes his face, doesn't it? It's barely.
I don't think he knows where he hits him because he had his eyes closed. But did crowd go wild, Beck?
Yeah.
Did
So
you
where
go
I
wild?
was, like we just said, Sonny, because Perisic had gone off, Sonny takes a free kick. You know, it's a silly place to give a foul away at that point in the game. And in commentary, they said today, didn't they? They're like, "Oh, are they going to regret this free kick?" And I thought, "Oh, do you not know Spurs and your free kick?" So anyway, Son takes a free kick. Watching Richarlison today, watching how he kind of runs around the back and kind of like runs over. I was right behind Alisson, and you can kind of see where the ball just sort of, he just can't quite reach where it kind of goes over his fingertips, because we were like, I said on Holly's show, we were like sucking the ball into the net. And then, yeah, it was Chelsea-esque celebrations, wasn't it? Where he kind of dives over, takes his shirt off. And yeah, it was just fantastic. I tweeted yesterday, we haven't had that kind of situation, certainly as an away game, for a really long time, where we've had that kind of celebration. It almost feels like Chelsea was the last time. But yeah, it was amazing, and I think it was fully deserved. We were a lot better second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James, written in the stars when he come on, Richarlison. Do you fancy him to bag that equalizer?
Well, the 2 goals before that, I remember him scoring, aside from the one that was wrongly disallowed, of course. Both headers.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Marseille.
I do think he's a good player. I mean, he's played in the wrong position and he's been unfortunate this season, but we know he's a good player. Yeah, I don't necessarily fancy him to score a goal, but I fancy him to be involved in something, you know, when he comes on, especially against Liverpool. And not the greatest contact on the ball, the header, but it went in. And yeah, he went mental, as you can imagine, because you would, you know, if you're an ex-Man U player and you're playing against City and you just got that equaliser, you would as well, wouldn't you? So, you know, fair enough. Happy he finally got his Premier League goal for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, it was a great moment. Like I said, when Kane, as I said before, Kane's first goal goes in, and I'm sort of just like, my missus looked at me, and I'm just like, yeah, it was 3-1 down.
What was that movement?
You know what I mean?
Do that again.
It's like Alan Partridge. I was just like, yeah. Second one goes in, and I was like, here we go. Richarlison's went in, and I'm up out the saddle. I'm like, come on, because I hate Liverpool, really giving it some. And then, obviously, the ultimate kick in the testicles, Dave, by a player who I don't really like, don't really rate, don't see why he's getting game time at Spurs. Long ball, Lucas. I mean, I'm not really gonna like, but what on earth is he doing? What's he doing on the pitch? And 2, when he is on the pitch, what's he doing with seconds left? Passing it back to, was he meant to be passing it back to Foster? I mean, Dave, try and explain to people on here what the effing hell is he doing?
You're a bit like that Harry Enfield character in like, oi, Moura.
Oh, get the wife a lime cordial. That one.
Yeah, that one. So basically, just to give some context, so when it was at 3-2, I'm watching it blind. I'm avoiding all media. And then I get notification the 606 podcast is ready to go, and it says Spurs' misery continues. I just saw it on the thing. So when Richarlison scored the equaliser, I'm the only Tottenham fan in the world who sat there going, and we've really ballsed it up this time after this. And so therefore, when that ball comes over to, I think Lucas is a big fan of the Beatles or something like that, because he's ballsed up against Everton, came on 2 minutes later, sent off. And this one, You stick it into row 15. Your chain-smoking manager of your kids' team, James, who'd have told you to kick it under the Hackney Marshes, and smacked it away. And that's what he should have done. Instead, he was looking to play a deft inside ball to QT Romero. Jota's through on goal. Bad news for everybody. Slightly good news for my fantasy team, but bad news. And I was annoyed, very annoyed. Liverpool are my third most hated team after Arsenal and Chelsea. Liverpool, as we all know, invented football with Liverpool, music with the Beatles, and humour with Jimmy Tarbuck. So annoying.
Beck, wounded. I bet absolutely.
Yeah, so we're
No,
like
you're there. You're there. Come on, let's hear the match.
So we're there, and like I said, the kind of the ball flicked over the top of Alisson. We're going absolutely nuts. Just about to see the celebration because it was like bottom right of where we were. Everyone's hugging everybody. Everyone's cheering. Everyone's just so happy. You can see Liverpool fans leaving. So I quickly kind of filmed. I seem to have filmed all of Richarlison's disallowed goals this season. So I.
Are you bringing out a DVD? Daniel Levy will be in touch.
I have. I've got a compilation of him celebrating, taking his shirt off, and then either getting booked or the goal being disallowed. And you can see Liverpool fans leaving in the background. I then kind of turned to Kaz and were like, "Wow, that's so brilliant!" Da, 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 da. And it was apparently Jack told me today it was 99 seconds. It feels like about 5 seconds later. Apparently it was 99 seconds.
It was from kickoff, wasn't it, Beck? I think it was 99 seconds, including like Richarlison's, all the celebrations and that, I think.
Well, we're all celebrating. We're all still going absolutely nuts. And the next minute, I'm like, what's going on over there? Why has he got the ball? What's going on? It's gone in. And we couldn't really see it was Moura until at the end of the game when he comes over and he sort of does this all sort of like, he's pointing at himself, going, so sorry. And I've seen footage of him crying as well. We didn't really know it was him at the time. But yeah, we were just absolutely gutted. Like I said, I think Newcastle, we knew what was happening. It was 5-0 very early, but the game was just being seen out. Whereas yesterday, because we'd kind of come back, like I keep comparing it to the Chelsea game, really, because we came back and we felt like we deserved it, it just felt so gutting afterwards. And I was at the Sporting Lisbon game where we had that ghost goal that Kane scored and the offside and all of that. There was a lot of celebrating for that too. It just didn't really know what to say, and it was just very Spursy. And I hate using that phrase, but it really was. And then I had all the Scousers, because I know a lot of people from Liverpool messaging me going, yeah, we see you talk big, your defence is rubbish, our defence is rubbish, and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, we hated the fact that Richarlison equalised, and yeah, it's all fantastic. So I'm just reading it going, oh, go away. Luckily, I'm not in school today, so I didn't have to see it.
Yeah, they're the worst, aren't they? Phil Ambrose has just took the words out of my mouth. The 11-year-old Messi fan has turned up.
That's bold, Phil. 11, blimey.
But Beck, James, I'll come on to you. I must have said, what the is Lucas doing? He shouldn't even be on the pitch. What is he doing on the pitch? And James, what the friggin' hell is he doing on the pitch? Why are we picking him? I thought Porro actually looked good, looked fit. We were attacking and he was getting decent balls in. Why on earth has Mason changed him just to put Lucas on? Surely not to give him minutes.
Fresh legs, isn't it?
He didn't need fresh legs.
Never hurts to have fresh legs, does it?
Well, it did yesterday, mate.
But he's ruined. He ruined the Everton game, and he's ruined this game as well. Like you just said, this is the problem.
I don't know. Maybe you're thinking, put someone who's, got fresh legs on. Yeah, in hindsight, awful decision. I can tell you what Moura is doing there. And actually, I'll double it. I'll tell you what my old coach would have said, he'd have lit a smoke, and he said, get it clear, lads. But, I don't know what he's trying to do there. You just kick it out for a throw-in, don't you?
Yeah.
You just kick it out. You get it safe. It's late on in the game. That's what you do.
I don't understand it. If you want to make your right wing back more defensive, you could have brought Tanganga on because he's played right wing back, hasn't he?
He has done that, and he has done that this season. I can remember a game where we were seeing the game out and Tanganga was playing. Yeah.
I think Porro probably has proved that he is a better deliverer of a ball from that position than Lucas in the short time he's been here already. So, but we can go all around the houses with it, can't we? It
was bad game management, though. I've seen lots of people say today that, like Kerry's just put in the game, that we were gutted, but compared to where we were, we've had a really tough fixtures this week. Is that it could have been far, far worse. And there are green shoots. There's positivity, like I said, about, Son's hitting some form again, and there's a change in kind of play. And provided we don't defend so badly all the time, there is positives to take from it. But it was just the fact that Moura didn't need to be there. And that was the game management. We should have just seen the game out. He, like you said, he could have made those changes, or they could have. I know Moura will go through it in his head 100 times over, and it was just. And I saw a thing today as well. This happened last year. Someone was filming it from the Kop end, and they filmed it, and you can see Forster celebrating and he jumps in the air and everything, and it's just, I think I said on Holly's show something like we've conceded the most in the first 15 minutes and scored the most or conceded the most in the last 15 minutes or something. We've managed to get both stats, and we're the third highest scorers in the league, but we're the sixth highest conceders in the league as well. So we get our money's worth. There is like everything going on in Spurs games. It's just a shame. We just couldn't finish and see the game out because of I think we deserved at least a point.
I wasn't thinking like Moura came on when we were 3-2 down, so obviously we scored, so it wasn't a defensive move. But I'm just trying to play things out through my head on why we'd make such a stupid decision is to bring Lucas Moura on. But anyway,
can we just finish off talking about Klopp for a minute?
Yeah. I was just about to say, Dave, wasn't to be. I've got some opinions on these performances of Tottenham coming back, which I spoke to Dave about before. We're not going to have time. I'll talk about it on Wednesday. But Jurgen Klopp, fantastic manager, absolute wand of a bloke when the football game's on. Dave, agree?
Yeah, so basically, my beloved 606, which I do enjoy listening to, have had a really good feature about grassroots refereeing. 13, 14-year-old kids who are refereeing and getting abuse from parents, supporters, players. It's been
my son's one of those. He's a 14-year-old referee.
Yeah. And the fact that Klopp has not had a touchline ban, I believe, at all whilst he's been over here. The fact that he ran aggressively to the fourth official, the fact that he has called into question the integrity of the referee, surely means now that the FA or the Premier League need to give him a touchline ban. And it was just, but they should. And, as I said, I listened to the 606 pod. He got interviewed after the game, a little joke and a laugh about him doing his hammy. I don't see anyone has challenged him about you ran up to the fourth official. You shouldn't be doing that. It's not. But
also, when he got booked. He turned to the stand next to him and went, yeah, like that. And they did a massive roar. So it was like he was basically giving two fingers up to getting booked as well. And that's the bit that you see Richarlison smirking at. You've seen like that angle.
Dave's right, but he won't, Dave. He gets away with it all the time
because it's Liverpool.
I can't stick Liverpool. I don't live in London. I dislike Arsenal and Chelsea, but I loathe Liverpool. I loathe all the way they are and the way that the media. Do you remember when we were on Sky and when Salah scored and even like Carragher was commentating? Now, he's a Liverpool fan, but you're meant to have some degree of sort of like, you're meant to be sort of like as unbiased as you can. And he's on there shouting, get in there, Mo Salah, you little beauty or whatever. I just can't stand him, mate. And he gets away with it all the time. I think he's a really good manager, but I think there's quite a nasty person in there if he doesn't get his own way.
Yeah, like, even like the comments, he's deflecting the comments because we played much better second half, that he was saying Spurs shouldn't play that counter-attacking way. The players they've got, they should play this, that and the other. And he was like, they neglected to include the fact that, that Skip shouldn't have been playing anyway because he fouled our player. And he's just like that. And it's really ranty. And it's like, it's just a deflect of away from the fact that we should have beaten them and we didn't. And we're Spurs. And yeah, I can remember he said something about last season when the game came up in the press conference. He said about Salah and he went, hasn't Salah scored like 1 million goals against Tottenham? And something really sarcastic like that. And it's like, oh, behave. People are supposed to look up to you. You've got kids who look up to managers, and that's not how you should be like behaving. But no one ever does anything.
No,
And I
that's
can't
right.
understand
And
why he's like it. They won anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's like if they drew,
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you know, or they lost, you can imagine him being a bit salty. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's just
because
like
he's a ein groß deutscher baby. He's
I
just
mean,
a big German baby. That's all he is.
I'll give you a little bit of trivia on Klopp. Actually, his
Go on,
favorite
then.
drink. Do you know what his favorite drink is?
baby
Is
sham.
it bitter lemons?
Yeah, it's bitter. Quite
There you
bitter.
go.
So look, I mean, we can get onto Klopp in the week because maybe something might happen. But obviously, Dave, James have come in late to do a show, and they've only had an hour or so. Becky's had to relive that. This is the third time Becky's had to. She's obviously there live on Holly's
Yeah.
Hotspur show earlier, reliving it, and now she's had to come and do it all again. So look, we're going to end it there for the night. We haven't got into it in as much depth as we usually do, but Dave, thank you for coming on. Have you enjoyed our little hour's worth of reliving that game, or do you feel like you need to come on again to get a bit more off your chest?
No, I'm all good. Thank you very much. I've got a busy day chasing ambulances all over Sydney. And, as I said, good. I've always said, keep Son, don't sell him. So it's been a good weekend for that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
thanks for having me
absolutely.
on.
That's right.
And
James?
Bye-bye.
Sorry, Dave. Carry on.
No, you
Sorry,
go.
Dave.
I just said thanks for having on and thank you. That's it. Go.
James, thank you for coming on and putting us into your busy schedule. You can now go off and do whatever you like to do, but thanks for coming on.
Lovely to be on as ever. It's fine. I was planning to spend the night, until 10:30 watching the Snooker World Championship, and I've been doing that anyway. So, lovely to be on as ever. Complain about Spurs. I'm sure all of you lovely people watching will get to see my beautiful face soon. I'm joking, of course. And it's lovely to have this chat with everyone else on the panel. Lovely to be on as ever. Thank you.
And Becky, I'm really sorry you've had to relive it all again, but thanks.
It's fine. Like John's just put there about me smiling. I have to smile. I had a great day. I've like I said, away games are great fun anyway. They are a good laugh. It's just more recently we are just so bad away. And like you said, it's January since we've had and we had Preston in the middle that kind of helped it a little bit, but really you have to kind of have that experience around it, otherwise it just gets it kind of consumes you. So no, it's fine. There were positives to take from it.
Yeah, I'm back.
I think we'll beat Palace as well. I do think we'll beat Palace. I think we'll outscore them.
Yeah,
exactly.
That'd be good because Beck, at least Liverpool. I know we lost. Nothing else. It's never good to lose. Man United, we only drew, but at least you're getting a little bit of feeling, a little bit of emotion coming from them.
Mason
games.
has had to be in charge for the 3 arguably most difficult fixtures consecutively. If he'd come in after Southampton, we wouldn't be here. But they decided to keep Stellini. He's had to come in for the 3 arguably worst fixtures to be in for. So we have to take some positives from that.
You've got to try and take positives. You're right, but thanks for the audience. Thanks for all the comments. We've had a few watching tonight. Sorry, it's a short show. Things happen, but we will be back Wednesday, and we'll probably go into it a little bit more in depth about the talking points and how they made us feel. So, lastly, all I've got to say is, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!